fourth dimension during our investigations, they had no time. They don't
Right.
speak of time. They'd rather not because it's not important where they're
Right.
at.
It's just the message. It's just the education and the wisdom that they want you to just soak in, to experience, to live. It isn't the moment. They aren't worried about if it's 2 or 3 o'clock, or been 6 months. It's
Right, right. I mean, if you're surrounded by love and confidence and unconditional love, and you don't even speak, you just know it's an
right. It's our lessons. It's like I was saying to you last night. It's like we're in school and we're just learning. We're some assignments we aren't so thrilled with. Some reason, we actually have to repeat. But some we just, decide we want to repeat. But other things we want to experience because it's, what it is, either our choices or our preferences or, our education.
a lot of times spiritually. I heard it said that um, the consciousness of spirit, and a lot of times I'm working with someone on orbs. Not a big believer in a lot of them, but there are some that are in fact true and caught. But and the mechanism of it itself, which contains a consciousness, um, it picks and chooses the exact opposite of what you may have lived. Like if you would have lived very rich in the medieval age, and you had just about everything, and you were murdered by your wife or your something was weird in the castle, then you choose to come back as a serf. And the other end of it, that happens, I think, a lot. It's interesting you say that I have a tendency to try to lead. I've always had that in me. And by you saying that, being a Roman soldier and maybe some sort of sergeant or any Roman soldier who had frill on the top of his head was pretty high ranked. He was, and it's interesting me being one because I have an affinity toward that time. Not so much Rome, I told you first, but the medieval period, which immediately followed the falling of Rome. So, looking more a little bit, when you were to have someone in your office or doing this type of work, working with me, what else do you see in the past? Do you see any more me jumping into the entity somewhere and being something?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you got?
Absolutely. Okay, another one was a indigenous man. I mean, way back to like you look like a caveman of sorts. You're actually wearing, like an animal skin for clothing. You have like long, really dark hair and beard and mustache, and you're climbing a cliff. Now, why I don't know, but it's like a feat that you have to do. That I can feel it. I do this through hearing, seeing, and feeling, and it's like a it's like what I told you about the Roman soldier, how you wanted to lead. It's like you wanted to conquer too. You wanted to, what's the right word? You needed to get from that point to the top of that cliff for whatever the reasoning is.
Now,
Con-
the consciousness of an entity, spirit that is, doesn't change, does it?
Consciousness.
Well, the actual, the consciousness in which we take with us to spirit. Spirit contains, of course, the conscious, the energy of emotion, and a few other attributes. But emotion is up there. It may have even memory. But the conscious, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, this is what I hear from my guides just now. Yeah, the consciousness in essence doesn't change, it just enhances it by the experiences that it
Right.
provides.
So I'm on to something because your guide has just told you the 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 experiences that you have, like we have here. We're a spirit in a human form. Um, all of this I've learned over 4 years of paranormal investigation and research. Most teams never get to the point of even knowing how to spell paranormal. God, I mean, there's so many teams even around here. It's horrible. But the point that I'm trying to say is that spirit in our questioning, we don't ask the normal questions. Spirit kind of stays the same. It has memory. It has consciousness, and that stays the same throughout whatever. When I don't want to use the word time, but let's just say it is 2 words. It is. It is, and then it enhances by going through. Um, it's like you got a meat, and you're enhancing it, putting a certain spice on it, and then another spice. And each of one of those spices are what I call a living experience. So, and that doesn't necessarily have to be here. It can be anywhere, in a different verse, multiverse, a different dimension. The problem is I don't remember him, and if you can ask the guides or see in the boxes what value to me if I don't remember him, or does this? All right, so the spirit is enhanced, but I don't know how it's been enhanced throughout these experiences.
I have already asked that because it's frustrated me at times. And what I've learned and what I've experienced is that because some you don't need to hold on to it. It's like holding on to everything in your life. In other words, never selling any of your material items. You don't need it all. And it just sometimes, because of the emotions of it, because of the experience of it, especially if you have been in a different, well, in other words, alien lifetime, for the lack of a better term, that would overwhelm your possibly overwhelm your human existence, your human life. You don't ask those questions. You don't learn those answers until you're ready. And then your guides, teach and work with you to help you ease into what it is you want to know and want to well, I guess you'd say experience and learn.
And I think that even if you were to ask your guides now that this is not the place to show our cards of all the previous lives. This is focusing on this particular environment, this particular wherever I'm at. Try to grab what's learning about it. Maybe then the collective soul, once you pass and move, while you're as a spirit, you are able to look at all of the things that you've brought on and how they all make sense. But now, yeah, it's interesting because in the in a biblical sense, Christ said, "You won't remember the former."
Right. Well, and here's the thing. They just told me also is the thing is if you hold on to all that, then you don't enjoy the present moment. It's like they use the word multitasking like we do too much now. And you don't enjoy one certain aspect if you have all these other things you're doing at once. In other words, concerned with, instead of your focal point being on one particular subject or, lifetime, I guess. It's just the bits and pieces of that knowledge or wisdom. You see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's the experiences that are not so good. Now, I will say I've had lifetimes that I've told people, and it's not, the optimum outcome. but for whatever reason, they need to feel that or experience that or take that in. And, I've had people that have came back to me, thankfully, and gave me that validation of, it gave me an aha moment. So I changed the way I do this or that, for the positive in my life. So, our guides are pretty darn smart.
Guides are spirit entities. I think that they may not even be any more than us or any less. They're just spirit, and they could be family members, but not in the sense of the word as we see family. They could have been from family from my particular prehistoric or caveman days.
Oh, absolutely.
And because they're still concerned with my spirit, which is truly spiritually connected to them also.
Right. No, we're interchangeable. Another thing that my guides thankfully have showed me is that we as humans and as beings, not just of Earth, but aliens, are like the insides of a watch, all the gears. And at certain points, we touch each other, but we're all connected in some way. And that we all interact with each other, and we have a purpose to make up the whole. Do you see what I mean by that?
Yeah, and I've always tried to connect things spiritually or through Scripture, because to validate Christ knew all of these things, and of course our Creator of this all, God, who is immense, but it brings up that correlates to what I just said, to the fact that in the workings of a watch, we sometimes touch another gear, or a little tooth of another gear that we never touched before. Now, that brings me to the story of last night when we were talking, and you said, when you were that soldier, I said, but there was a woman I was just so nuts about, and I still miss this entity, and I don't know. And you said, yeah, she was Greek.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't remember, but I have the feeling. And but that kind of led on to the discussion where when I miss her and all that, and I said, where is she now? And you said, well, she is you, you are her, because the event that you created somehow creates the entity, enhances the entity. What did you? It's all based on experiences.
Absolutely.
And what does an experience do?
What experience? What did you say? I'm sorry.
What does a experience do? Like me and this Grecian girl.
Oh, well, it teaches. It opens. Like, if you want the particulars of that individual circumstance, it teaches compassion along with the balance that you need to lead. It teaches the opening, the small opening that you need to feel to have that compassion, to have that understanding. I mean, and I feel this as I'm telling you this. So it just opens that assignment, that lesson, that wisdom that you needed to feel. You see what I mean?
Well, we don't become one, do we?
Well, it's like the watch battery, or excuse me, the watch face that I was telling you about. It's like you are with that spirit. That spirit is with you, of sorts. We're all interchangeable players.
So part of her energy is with me, and part of my energy is with her.
Absolutely.
Okay, I get it. And then when
that feeling you have of that individual that you've never met, but you go, oh, they just seem so comfortable, so familiar.
And especially, right in the early medieval era, which just succeeded the fall of Rome. It kind of tied in when you said I was a Roman soldier, and there was just some affinity, and I think a lot of people have that. You go somewhere. I know someone that says when they go to Ireland, they know their home.